welcome to a very special edition of Property Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan. So in the last couple of days, we have been attempting to answer all your questions on how demonetization, that is a crackdown on black money, could impact your purchase or investment in real estate. Today, we are approaching the same issue from a different perspective, the home finance and the financial planning angle. Will it make your home loan cheaper? That's a big question we're asking today. With me in the studio is Kartik Jhaveri. Kartik is the Director, Transcend Consulting, India Private Limited. Kartik, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's get started, Kartik. We have a first query that's coming through email from Harshan. Now, Harshan wants to avail a loan on a property that he's planning to buy at Ulve in Navi Mumbai. He wants to know whether demonetization will have any effect on interest rates. Is it the best time to buy properties, he asks. Two questions there. Let's start with the interest rate question first. We already saw Axis Bank reducing rates this week. Do you see more of that in future?
Indeed, I mean, interest rates, we will have a profound effect on that. And you will see some of the best interest rates cut happening because, very simply put, if so much of money is coming back to the banking system, it obviously means that the whole banking system, the RBI, is collecting a wall of cash. So understand, when does interest rate actually go down or when does it really go up? When the RBI pulls the money from the market into itself, which in the banking system, then the interest rates go down. And if they basically raise rates, then they are putting more money into the market. So, there is a definite equation. Now, this time RBI has not done any action, but there is a lot of money which is coming back inside. Because of this money coming inside, the interest rates have to go down. And once they go down, obviously, we know we will save thousands and lakhs of rupees in interest cost over the years. It will make a huge difference, especially if you have taken loan in the last maybe 1 year, 2 year, things like that. Now, your other question is this the best time to buy property? So my sense is that if it's your first home, then there is no like a right time or a bad time. The property market might be in an absolute liquidity crunch and squeeze, and therefore it makes a very interesting time for you to buy. Is even if you are buying a primary property, which is a property from a developer. If you are buying a first property from a developer, see, most of the properties, at least in a place like Bombay, were already almost 99% in check payments or white payments as we know it. So therefore, I don't think there'll be a lot of crack on the pricing if you're going to buy a fresh property from the developer. But if you're trying to buy it in the secondary sale market, definitely there is a huge cut, and the cut is directly equal to the amount of the cash component that was involved in such property deals. So I think you're in a fabulous time. Don't wait too long if you're buying it from a builder. But otherwise, if you're going to buy it in a secondary sale market, then I'd say let the dust settle a bit.
Kartik, we've been speaking to experts all through this week, and
That's
demonetization, in fact, is all that we've been discussing with them. And it seems to be more or less, the decision over here, the opinion over here seems to be more or less unanimous that prices will be under pressure in resale property, and you will see the effect actually trickling down into the primary market. That is for homes that you buy directly from the builder much, much later, probably 4 to 6 months down the line. While on the topic of interest rates, you did explain how it works. The fact that such a lot of money is coming into the banking system
Correct.
is going to make your home loan cheaper. How much more cheaper can home loans get, say, over a 6-month period? How much of a reduction can I actually expect in home loans? And in the meanwhile, I'll also ask my team to put up the latest home loan rates, led of course by the rate cut that was announced by Axis Bank this week. Very quickly, what do you expect?
See, a little difficult to immediately put a number on that. We would be in a much better position maybe in January first week when we have exact figures of how much money has come in. But all said and done, I think we can all positively expect at least about a 1 to 1.5% cut in our interest rates in the next maybe 6 months or so, which is starting now. So maybe 45 days up to the finish of the calendar year, and maybe the month of January, we should see a serious revision, downward revision, and which is absolutely good news for everyone.
Right, serious downward revision. You can expect rates going down by 1 to 1.5%. Those are the rates that are currently being offered by various banks. Of course, banks are offering you home loans priced on the MCLR, and your home finance companies obviously will offer you an RPLR rate. What you also need to remember is that if you are a borrower, that is, if you already have a home loan, you will not see an immediate impact. You will have to go back to the bank and reset that rate if you are on the MCLR. However, say I have a home loan on the base rate, then what happens? Do I get immediate benefit of the reduction?
Yes, of course. So as soon as the base rate is deducted, or there is an adjustment made to the base rate, it will automatically translate based on the terms that you have agreed with your lender or the bank. Automatically that would get transgressed to your loan. So yes, you will have immediate effect on that.
So in this situation, would you advise not to go and get convert your loan to an MCLR based system, stick to the base rate instead?
Okay, so here the basic principle would still apply. Is there a difference, and is there a large difference? So if the difference is as much as maybe 1% in the MCLR loan versus the loan that you have, then maybe yes, there is a case to convert. Again, think about the tenure that you have. So if your tenure is anything in excess of 10-12 years, then there is a case for you to move even at a 0.75 difference or a 75 basis point difference. But otherwise, if you just have 1 or 2 years to let go of your loan or finish your loan, don't worry too much.
So there that's what you need to remember. This is the time when you should actually go back, look at that agreement that you signed with the bank. Time to review your home loan and where you stand. We have Mahesh who sent in a question through email now. He got to know that property prices are falling down because of demonetization. He wants to know how the entire process works. How is demonetization affecting real estate? Kartik, I would very quickly like to go on to this soundbite. We had spoken to Niranjan Hiranandani earlier and listening to what he had to say, in fact, on the topic of property rates.
How will demonetization impact real estate at this point?
See, at the moment, everybody is too scared. And it's going to be difficult for anybody to take a decision. And people don't buy houses off the cuff like you buy vegetables. So obviously, there's going to be a gap between now and people deciding to buy. Having said that, people are not very secure with money on the table. And the note is no more sacrosanct. People used to store notes and think they were rich. Now they know that if they store notes, they'll become poor. So I think they're going to shift from hoarding notes to buying properties more quickly than they used to do in the past. Of course, there are negatives about entering into property as compared to notes because liquidity is an issue. You can't enter and exit easily. But at least your notes don't disappear. So obviously interest rates will come down for the people who have already borrowed because variable interest rates will bring it down, or they will borrow new. I think it's there. So the future is secured for real estate. It's only a question of the next 3-4 months that may be difficult for people to decide.
All right. Also, the PM announced that the government is going to get very strict about Benami properties. You think that is going to impact prices and bring down prices rather?
No, I think it's a very good thing. This Benami property was creating a problem for the people who bought it also. The persons used to then want to retransfer and things like that. And the persons whose name it was done would anyway crib about it. That, I held the property, I used my name, I did that. So anyway, those disputes were creating a problem. Now it's become illegal. So now you don't do it.
But there are several views that prices will come down. You think that will happen?
Yes, of course. Those builders who are very stressed, who are over leveraged, who don't have cash, who don't have money, will sell at a discount. Land values are pushed by the government purposely. Every year the ready reckoner rate goes up by 10-15% compounding. Every year the taxes are going up. Today, lots of taxes in Mumbai have made it unaffordable to make a house. Even for a company like us, we find it so expensive that we don't even want to buy the additional FSI. In a place like Mulund, the minimum on taking FSI from the BMC would be 10 to 12,000 rupees a foot. And that is certainly not in the affordable segment. So we are challenged, A, by land prices, by the amount of taxes which are coming up. And we don't know how you're going to make affordable housing if the taxes and land prices are made unaffordable. So I don't see the prices really following in the long run. But in the short run, if somebody has got a problem of cash, of course he will sell at a low price.
So basically this is the time to buy.
I always said that.
Right. So Ace Builder over there, and he also expects that property prices will be under some kind of stress. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What do you expect?
So what's going to happen is, that's quite right. I mean, everybody understands the prices will go down, but there are two things which are going to happen straight away. In the resale market, assuming that a property was, let's say, selling at 100 rupees, and in that 100 rupees, let's say if 70-30 was the ratio, if 70 was in check and 30 was in cash, now suddenly that price is only worth 70 because that 30 cash has just disappeared. Nobody has it, nobody wants to take it. So what's going to happen is, from a seller's point of view, you're not going to sell it because you've been holding on to that property for quite some time. So therefore, you're not going to be able to see a lot of transactions happening in the resale market, which is one. On the other side is, you've got the developer market, which is, the new properties or the fresh properties. Now, the fresh properties in larger cities were anyways, like I said, about 95 to 98%, 99% in check. Those deals will still happen. But what will happen is, all developers, I'm sure, maybe having some cash somewhere. So what will happen is, because their liquidity might be tight, they may be, in a sense, compelled to offer it to you at a little bit of discount. So you will see a little bit of a price fall, but I don't see a significant price fall in the primary segment, which is the developer or the new property segment. But in the resales, I think there will be a lot of squeeze, and in fact there will be a freeze of sorts for the next 6 months or so. I don't see too many property deals happening in the first place. So if you are actually looking to buy a fresh property, you are better off going to a developer, and it will be a good time to negotiate because the developer is anyways wanting to sell a lot of his stock, so you would actually be helping in some sense.
But then would you advise buyers to actually go hunting for good deals in the resale market? Because like you said, and like Mr. Hiranandani also pointed out, that is essentially the segment that is going to be under pressure first.
Absolutely. So you should try it, but my sense is you will not get too many sellers wanting to let go of their properties, because suddenly, until yesterday your price was 100. Now today the price has gone down to 30. It's almost like a shock, it's a jolt. So it will take some time for the people to sort of absorb that and internalize that, look, this is how life is and this is how the situation is. Maybe 6 months later, what would happen is that 70 would naturally appreciate to maybe 74, 75. We might see a 5-10% appreciation in prices.
And
that's
gains.
The time. Yeah, but the buyer still gains. Absolutely.
We have
100%.
Vishal Anand, who's called in from Mumbai with a question. Vishal, what's your question?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Vishal. I'm 35 years old. I have recently shortlisted on property at Lodha, Palava, which is at Dombivli.
Okay.
This was after, hunting around at Fortune City, Panvel, and some of the other properties. And this is what I shortlisted. So what has happened is, I had given a down payment of 45,000 rupees at the time of the booking.
Okay.
And my booking amount of 3.5 lakhs was supposed to happen on the 9th of this month. Now, given the situation that has happened, and where people are talking that the rates will go down, etc., so I have withheld the payments to Lodha for this point of time, just to see that things settle down. So my question is, the clarification that I need from you, or the advice I need from you is, this is a property which is going solely from investment perspective, because I stay in Sine with my parental house. It's a 3 BHK house. Right. I have a young family. So because it was my first investment, more from a purpose of, tax savings and a little bit of emotional angle as well, should I just, because even if I decide to come out of the agreement, I will only lose about 40,000 in this point of time. So should I continue with the Palava project in phase 2 that I've done? Or should I wait for things to settle down, wait for 5-6 months, look for some other projects which comes across nearby, and then take a call? The property I chose was a pre-launch. So in that sense, I was very clear that I wanted a pre-launch offer.
Vishal, quick question. It is a pre-launch property, but you have signed an agreement with the developer here.
No, I have not even signed the agreement per se. So I had given so initially when I went there and I saw the property which I liked, it was a pre-launch, so I gave them 45,000 rupees as a booking amount. And the booking amount too, which is before I do my stamp duty registration, I had to pay a check of close to 3.5 lakhs.
So he has done that.
Which I had stopped in between because I wanted things to settle down. So since it's the first time I'm buying a house, and
right. Vishal, let me get you in. What would you say now? What should he do? You're a lawyer as well. What should he do right now?
So you've paid a booking amount. My sense is, as soon as you pay a booking amount, a company would give you an allotment letter, or a letter which tells you that this is your house, whatever name they call it, you see, or confirmation letter or allotment letter. So you obviously have that. Now you had already paid the money for stamp duty and the registration of that agreement, but you have actually not done the agreement. However, all said and done, there is enough documentation in your case to prove that you are going to buy the property at that price. Now remember, whenever we buy a property, we are buying property from at least a 10 to 15 year perspective. So therefore, you cannot get out of this deal because your contract is already sealed, because you have an exchange of things, you have signed on papers, and you all have agreed on some terms and conditions. You may be able to exit if the builder accepts your exit, and he may charge you some amount of an exit fee. So that is quite possible, but I doubt that will happen, because in any case there is pressure on sales, and like you, everybody is expecting that the prices will fall. So if he allows you to get out, maybe you can get out and wait for another 6 months and buy something, or maybe the same property at a 10% discount, or maybe you can negotiate. That's a slightly better route. Find out if you all can, since you have not done the agreement, see if the rate is going down a little bit, if that helps you. If nothing happens, I think you still don't need to worry. Just go ahead with the price. It happens. These kind of things happen. You make an investment, the investment can lose value. It happens everywhere, in stocks, in gold. It happens in property also.
But
it's
Kartik,
okay.
the thing is also that real estate, typically,
Right.
and if you're investing in real estate, you should stay invested for a longer duration.
Absolutely.
It's not,
Absolutely.
you get in and get out. Not that kind of an investment. You should be there at least for 5 years at a minimum.
Correct.
Now, considering that you're looking at a long-term investment, 5 years plus,
Yes.
how would you, really characterize this demonetization that we're looking at? Is this going to be just a blip, or is this going to be more of a watershed event, say, the market meltdown that we saw?
The latter quite more, you see, because what will happen is suddenly it's like pressing a reset button. The entire real estate sector will go through a transition. Now, that also depends on how vigilant is the authority in terms of tracking transactions and seeing what's happening. So now if the intent of the government was to clamp down on illegally gained monies and things like that, and also to prevent future occurrence of such things, they will of course have a very, very, like a hawk eye on whatever is happening. And anything which is out of the ordinary will show up, will get flagged up. The information that they have is enormous. So I don't think anybody wants to also do something, and you should not also do anything which is going to, raise a red flag of sorts. But the real estate entire market will go through a radical transition. We already have a new act, then there are new rules, now demonetization. So it's a very, very good positive step. And in fact, we are moving into a more developed zone where we actually may be able to invest, buy and sell properties at a much shorter time frame. Maybe that will happen, but who knows? That is a speculation right now. But all said and done, it makes real estate deals so much more transparent.
Right. We also have Renu, who's called in from Bangalore now. Renu, what's your question?
Hi. Good evening. About a month back, I had discussed with a seller and had discussed about a price for buying a piece of land in Bangalore.
Yes.
Now, after the demonetization, can I go ahead with purchasing the land at that same price, or will the prices go down?
Will prices go down? This is very interesting, and land is something that very few people are actually talking about right now.
That's right.
Will this be actually hit? Because this is where most of the black money also ends up.
110%. In fact, the clampdown on land deals is far more than the secondary sale markets that we see in more developed markets. So yes, now whether or not this is going to happen or not depends on you and the selling party. So it's like a negotiation between two people. But having said that, look around and see what's happening. If you think that the general market is actually moving down, and if you all have not agreed, or if you have not exchanged a token, if you all have not signed any papers, then the entire space is open for you for renegotiation. And that's possible, because if the transaction's not happened, try and renegotiate. If you get a better deal, it's always better to have a better deal or a cheaper deal on making a purchase, because in future your profit will be that much more higher. So yes, by all means, you can revisit the entire price mechanism and your entire sale contract.
In fact, Renu, it's advantage buyer currently in the market. So whether it is land you're buying, whether it is a flat you're buying, or whether it's office space, the fact is at the end of the day, you are in the driver's seat after a long, long time. So, drive home that advantage, go ahead, negotiate, and see if you can get yourself a better deal.
Yeah.
Right? Going on, we have an email now from Padmanabha Kumar Prabhala. Now, he says that 2 months back, he made an agreement with the owner for a flat in Sainikpuri in Hyderabad. Now, the flat is 10 years old. The owner agreed for the rate of 26 lakh rupees at that time. He'd planned for registration on the 24th of this month. The flat is on the first floor with a car parking facility, semi-furnished, marble flooring, the works. Now, what can be its price after demonetization? Are you expecting an instant price reduction? And especially where you've signed an agreement?
Absolutely not. I mean, the price may go down, but if you've already got an agreement, then you cannot renegotiate, because then you have a certain amount of obligation both as a seller and as a buyer. So remember, whenever you are making a contract, and that's what makes property contracts very, very tight, and that's why lawyers are involved and we don't write contracts ourselves. Because once the contract is firmed up, then both of you have liabilities and responsibilities and obligations to discharge. So therefore, you can't just back out of it just because the market has changed. Forget demonetization. Maybe nothing has happened. It's just there is a locality which has suddenly got downgraded through whatever reason, through a governmental movement or through any other reason which may have happened in a particular locality. But that still does not mean that, if a transaction is already agreed on, an agreement has been signed, and if it's not even registered, the other party, if you are trying to back out, can take you to court and can ask you for a specific performance of your contract, and you will be obliged to honor it.
And if you actually don't honor that contract, and if you try to renegotiate, what can the seller do? He can actually take it to court, right?
Well, of course, absolutely. I mean, if you've paid him a token, then the token would also have some terms and conditions in the agreement that by so-and-so date, if you do not pay the rest of the money, then the token will be forfeited. And then, of course, the seller will do legal proceedings. The seller is also free to give you a certain notice and then go ahead and sell his property elsewhere. So, there are a lot of dynamics to this whole situation. So you want to be a little cautious, especially if you all have got into agreements. If you don't have an agreement done, and if you're still in some sort of a negotiation stage or a discussion stage, that's okay. But once you normally exchange a token, then, that's the honor of your word. It's already sort of sealed.
Right. So if you've signed an agreement, you've actually promised, you've committed to a certain price. And once you've done that, you cannot go back on it. There is no going back. If you do go back, then be prepared to be taken to court. We have Shankaram now, who's called in from Chennai. Shankaram, how can we help you?
Sir, I am Chennai from Chennai. I'm talking.
Yes.
Yes, Shankaram. Go on.
Sir, I have a property at south of the city at Ashok Nagar at Chennai.
Mm-hmm.
Now the selling rate is about 16,000 rupees per square foot.
Okay.
And whether this of demonetization the rate will come down, what is your advice to hold the property some more time? And whether this is the right time to sell this, or can I hold it back?
Right.
Okay. He's a seller.
Right. He's a seller over here. What should he do? It's a very difficult market for a seller.
Absolutely. If you need the money, sell it tomorrow. Don't wait for it, because if you wait for it, there are very, very good chances that, in 3 months' time, maybe the entire market has shifted a little downwards. So I know in the southern part of India, I'm given to understand that the cash component is not as high as in the northern part of the country. But all said and done, there is a cash component. So what will happen is there is a negative sort of a movement of the prices. Now, you don't want to have too much of a negative. If you're actually holding a property, if you need the money, sell it off.
Right, Shankaram, that's your answer there. Bad market for a seller, very difficult market to be in fact. So if you have a buyer, if you're getting a good price, this is the time to just sell and exit out of that property. There's this other segment in the market that is not really being addressed,
right,
and that is the rental market.
Yes.
Now, if I'm in the market to lease a property, that is to take a property on rent as a tenant, is this market going to be beneficial to me, or will I end up paying more on rent? Because, there is a lot of confusion. We can see that we have callers from across the country. People are probably going to put property decisions on hold. They're going to wait for some time. In such a scenario, what do you see? Will there be pressure on rents?
I think that's quite a relevant question. See, I don't think there will be any impact whatsoever on the rental property, because let's understand, the person who is giving out his property, the landlord or the licensor, from his point of view, he wants to retain the property. So if the property price went up by 30% or went down by 30%, he is immune to it. And he just wants to earn the rental. He wants to enjoy the benefits of his property. And because he wants to enjoy the benefits, he is not going to really give you a reduction in the rental. So if you need a rental property, I don't think even 6 months down the line, there will be too much of a change. What's interesting here to note is that if you are an investor who wants to buy a property as an investment, because the prices are moving downwards or have already moved downwards, and if you are getting a deal, go buy the property, because then what will happen is the rental market has not gone down. So you will still get approximately the same rent, which means your rental yield or the return on your investment will be higher than if demonetization was not the case, your rental return would have been that much lower. So typically, let's say in a larger city like Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore, the rental yield or the rental return is somewhere in the range of between 1% to 3%. Now, if the price itself goes down 30%, maybe your rental return moves up to 3% to maybe 5%, 7%, which is fabulous because you're also getting capital appreciation on whatever price you've bought the property.
Can we actually see something like that, 5 to 7% rental yield in Mumbai?
Yeah, you might just be lucky to see it because suddenly in the resale market, if the cash component goes away, somebody needs to sell that property, somebody's got the liquidity or the loan capability, and if there is a deal that transacts in this manner, you will actually land up getting a 3-4%, maybe 5% rental yield, which is brilliant,
So good news over there for those who are planning to invest and let property out on rent, or if you are already holding property which you intend to rent out, chances are that with demonetization, your rental yield, the return that you're getting, can actually go up because the capital value of the property will go down. So it's actually going to hit you both ways. But in the short term, what you can look is you can expect the return on the investment that you made, the proper. We have Mrs. Fernandez who sent in an email query now. She wants to know how demonetization is going to affect interest rates. Kartik, there's no running away. How is it going to affect the home loan?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be affecting you positively. So whatever interest rates you have, sooner or later start expecting the rates to start moving downwards. And as soon as the rates start moving downwards, you're going to be able to see that, your same EMI is paying off so much more of your principal because the interest component has gone down. And this is going to stay for some time. So we were in any case expecting cuts to happen purely because of the growth in the Indian economy. The growth is not gone away anyway. The growth is still there. It's going to happen in the quarters to come. But now this is a catalyst of sort. So demonetization will suddenly raise so much of resources for the bank. It will kill inflation to such a large extent and it will be quite dramatic. And as a result of which, we will see a very, very positive movement on interest rates, which will go down. If you're trying to buy a new property, your loans will be cheaper, your principal will be paid off faster. For people who want to invest into a new property, maybe it's an interesting time. Just wait and watch, let the dust settle, and you might be in for some really nice investment opportunities.
I'm going to get back to you on how long you should wait. But Mrs. Fernandez, those are the interest rates that banks and home finance companies are currently offering. We're showing that on your screen right now. And what Kartik is telling you is that this will go down by another 1 to 1.5%. Which means if you are in the market to buy a home and you're going to buy it on a home loan, it's a very, very good time for you. However, if you're a depositor and if you've actually put your money in the bank, and most of us are doing that nowadays, if you are putting your money in the bank, you're not going to get too much of a return on that, right?
Absolutely. So you don't put the money in the bank. So what you do is...
That's a very dangerous thing to say in these days. If you don't put it in the bank, where do you go with the money?
So it's very interesting. What happens is ordinarily people like to go and put their money into banks and make fixed deposits out of it. But now if you went to debt funds, so you put your money into the bank, no problem, but you don't let it remain in deposit. But you reinvest that in a debt fund. So if you see debt funds right now in the last 1 month or so have actually jumped up dramatically, and the last 365 days return is looking in excess of 10-11% in that same deposit.
So bad time to keep your money in the bank. Put your money in the bank and then reinvest it in SIPs and mutual funds or in real estate, because it is a very, very good time to buy real estate right now. With that, we come to an end of this episode of Property Hotline. Kartik Jhaveri, thank you very much for coming in and answering all those questions. And we will keep helping you with answers to all queries related to demonetization and its impact on your property purchase or investment. So if you have any doubts whatsoever, do not hesitate, call us, write in, tweet to me, and I will ensure that the country's biggest experts answer your questions. Thank you very much for watching.